I was showing you guys a video around my yard because I wanted to talk today about something that you probably just noticed. What did you see? Blooming all over my yard are flowers. So I hope you guys have some flowers blooming around your yard, because today we are going to learn a little bit about flowers, why flowers are so important to that life cycle of a plant and a seed, and we're going to dissect a flower. So maybe you can go and pause this video and go find a flower in your yard and listen to my lesson. So today I wanted to review with you germination. Remember, the life cycle of a plant starts with a tiny seed. Most of the time, I'm talking about seed plants today. And as the seed starts to grow roots and come out of the ground, we call that little small plant a seedling. And as the seedling grows, it becomes a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And those leaves start to grow, which starts to collect food for the plant so it can really grow into an adult plant. And oftentimes adult plants have flowers. All of the fruits, vegetables, and those flowering plants that you saw around my yard all have a flower. And that flower is very important in the life cycle of that plant. So I've got a little book today. Usually we make this at school. It's a little book that we cut out the pages and we color and we read together. And it's called The Power of the Flower. So I'm going to read it to you today and show you the pictures. It says the flower is a part of a plant, just like the stem or leaf. It can be many different shapes, sizes, and colors. Look at the flowers. Which one's shaped like a star? Find the flower that has the bell shape. Which one looks like a trumpet? So I don't know if you have a lot of those at your yard, but I went and I found almost all those different shapes in my yard. I do have a lot of flowers. I'm kind of a flower person, but here's some of the ones that I found in my yard. And you can see some of those different shapes. All right, let's keep reading our book. So when you look closely at a flower, you see that it's made up of many different parts. Did you notice that a little bit when I was showing you that one? The petals, the stamens, and the pistil color the different parts of the flower. So you know how we talked about scientific drawings the other day? Well, here's a great scientific drawing of a simple flower. And you can see this part, remember that? The stem. And then here's some new parts of the flower that we didn't talk about the other day. More detailed pictures. Here is the stigma. This is the top of the pistil. Here's the pistil, sorry. And it's the center of the flower. And it's the part that helps with the seeds. Okay, this is where the seeds are made. And something else we'll talk about in a minute. And then these parts of the pistil are the stamen. And that holds the pollen. Okay? Before seeds can grow, a grain of pollen from the stamen must land on the stigma of the same kind of flower. This is called pollination. The wind can help pollinate flowers by blowing pollen from one flower to another. We've had some wind lately, so I bet that we have had some pollination from the wind. But you see something else in this picture. Most flowers are pollinated by bees and other insects. The beautiful color of flowers attract them. When they land on the flowers to suck this, when they land on the flowers to suck the sweet nectar, pollen rubs on their legs. Then they carry the pollen to another flower where it rubs on the sticky stigma at the top of the pistil. Now, you guys that watched my video yesterday saw that little bumblebee doing that. He was going from one flower to another to another. So hopefully I will have all those beautiful flowers again next year thanks to that little guy who was helping pollinate those flowers. When the grain of pollen lands on the stigma, it grows a long tube down to the bottom of the pistil. Now a seed begins to grow. The flowers have done their important job. And so you can see a little more detailed picture of this flower now. You see the pollen has landed up here. And down here you will see this is where those seeds will grow and where something else will begin to grow in certain kinds of plants. All right, so now, I know you don't have this page like you would if you were at school, but this is a page where you can dissect a flower and look at all those parts. So it encourages you to write the color of your flower, to describe its shape, to count the petals, see if you can find the stamen and the pistil, and you can count those, draw those, and then see if you can identify your flower. If you don't know what kind it is, maybe your parents will know, or maybe you can look that up. That would be something just cool to look up. So we're going to dissect a flower now. All right, so let's see if we can do that. So let's see if we can dissect a flower and find some of these really important parts of the flower that help in the life cycle of that plant. Okay, so here are some of the different varieties of flowers that I found around my yard. I think this one would be a great one to dissect. You may know what kind of flower this is? This is an azalea, and you saw a lot of those in that opening video that I had. I think this one would be a great one to observe, to dissect. Okay, so remember, here are the parts of the plant. So you want to just kind of look through it, just investigate it, open it up, count the petals. Let's see how many we've got over here. We have, let me take this one off. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, do you see all those stamens that are holding the pollen? Do you see those? Do you see one that's a little longer? Oh, it's fallen. See that one that's a little bit longer? What's that? That's the pistil, and that's the stigma there at the top. Okay, really important. So, the top of the pistil is the stigma, and that's where we need to get that pollination process going. Because at the bottom of that, the bottom of that, that's where we will find our life cycle process really happening. That is where, if this flower is pollinated by that sweet little bee or bug, down in here, that is where those seeds will grow. And also, if it's a certain kind of plant, when that flower dies, if it's pollinated, down here is where that fruit will begin to grow. Like maybe an orange, maybe a watermelon, maybe a pea pod, maybe a tomato. And so there we'll have a fruit and we will have more seeds. So when you dissect your flower, see if you can count the petals, see if you can count these stamens and check out the pollen there. You rub it, you can get a little pollen on your finger. See if you can find the stigma and the pistil. And this one, it's very obvious, it's taller, and you can see that on top. You can even see that little sticky spot up there on top. This is a great one to dissect. So I hope you guys will go and find a flower. They're all a little different. This rose, you can see lots and lots of little stamens and lots of pollen, and you can see the inside looks very different. You might have to really search for that one, for the stigma and the pistil. So each one is a little different, and each one has a different purpose. These are all just beautiful flowering plants, but we know that they are vital for all those fruit and vegetable plants. So what is a fruit? How do we get a fruit from this flower? Does it come from the flower? Well, it does, because this little part here, if this flower is a certain kind of flower, and this is, the pollen reaches down to this part of the flower, the ovary, then that will mature into a fruit, a vegetable, a grain, different kinds of food that's important for you. Okay, and also down there on those ovules, those turn into seeds. So we can have more of that plant and more of that fruit. So I want to read you a little bit of this book, What is a Fruit? This is an old book. It's almost as old as me. But it's beautiful, beautiful illustrations and great information. This is a tomato. A tomato is a fruit. You probably think of it as a vegetable, don't you? A tomato is a simple, fleshy fruit. It has a thin outer skin. The tomato is the ripened ovary of the fruit. Do you see how these flowers, you might have some tomato plants, those flowers are pollinated. They turn later into a fruit, which is also filled with seeds. Here you see a pepper, a papaya, an avocado, eggplant. A watermelon is also a fruit. A watermelon is the ripened ovary of a single flower. So here's what your watermelon, if you plant a watermelon seed and it starts to grow, it will have this flower. And if that flower is pollinated and has all of the things it needs to survive, it will grow into a watermelon or a pumpkin, maybe a cucumber or a cantaloupe will grow from those seeds if they're grown and pollinated. They'll grow from a watermelon seed. Sorry about that. And here's an orange. An orange is the ripened ovary of a flower. Here's the orange. Here comes the orange tree, and you can see there's the pistil, the stamen, and the ovary. So once that flower is pollinated, the fruit can grow. Here's some other citrus fruits. Here's a banana. Here are berries. Have you ever noticed in a blueberry there are tiny, tiny little seeds? Here's peaches, plums, mangoes. These fruits are a little different because they don't have a lot of seeds. They produce one large seed. We call that a pit. You might have noticed that before. Now, instead of a fruit that looks like we think of a fruit, sometimes we have something like a pea, a green pea or a bean, and it grows. That flower turns into a pod, and inside that pod are those seeds that can grow into new plants. Here's a soybean, lima beans, peanuts. Corn is a grain. Each grain of corn is a fruit. Each grain of corn is a dry fruit with a single seed. A grain of corn is the ripened ovary of a flower. An ear of corn has many flowers, and an ear of corn has many grains. Wheat and rice are also grains. And you can see the rice and the wheat. Many of you probably eat rice, and from wheat we make lots and lots of things. And this shows you how those little seeds transform into the plant that we eat. Here's a walnut. A walnut is a fruit. It has a thick skin on the outside. And you can see some other nuts here. Here are hazelnuts, almonds, and you see they also start their trees, and they start from those flowers on those trees, and then turn into those seeds that we eat. A strawberry is a fruit. A strawberry is a sweet, juicy fruit. It comes from the flower that has many ovaries. Each ripened ovary develops a seed. And here you see the seeds on the outside. And each of these, love these. Blackberries, raspberries, they're little tiny seeds that we actually eat. Here's an apple and a pear. You're probably familiar with those and their seeds. Here's what their flowers look like. There are many kinds of fruit. There are many shapes of fruits. There are many sizes of fruits. There are juicy fruits and dry fruits, fruits that are hard, smooth, soft, fuzzy skins, tough skins, thick skins. Some fruits have one seed, others have many seeds, and some have no seeds. Some fruits are sweet, some are not. Some fruits may be eaten, some fruits may not. There are many kinds of fruits. But what is a fruit? A fruit is a ripened ovary of a flower. A fruit usually has seeds. Seeds are the beginning of a new plant. Now this one's really neat. To take you down into my neighbor's garden one day and show you this plant. This is a fig. A fig is a fruit. A fig is a strange kind of fruit. A fig is a flower turned inside out. I didn't know that. So here you can see it. And fresh figs are so delicious. They are probably not on that plant yet, but I'll go down there and check that out and see. This is what they look like when they're growing. And you can see the flower. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning about plants today and flowers and seeds. And remember that life cycle of a plant is so important. It's a great time to be planting some things in your garden and maybe growing some of your own food. So I hope you guys have a good time. I hope you go out and look for a neat flower and try to dissect it and check out those different parts. All right. Thanks for joining me for science, guys. See ya next time.